ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaste my dear friends, this is video number 2 on Kaivalya Upanishad. Video number 2 on Kaivalya Upanishad starts with the topic prescription of Parnava Upasana. The absolute Brahma, who is bereft of all superimpositions, can be realized only by competent students having sharp intellect. However, students with mediocre intellect who are unable to attain the above said vision of non-duality through discriminative knowledge and meditation should awaken this unified vision by constant practice of knowledge in association with the Parnava Upasana. The next verse prescribes constant practice of knowledge with the help of Parnava Upasana in order to awaken this non-dual consciousness. Stanza 11. Atma namarnim kirtva parnavam chotranim jnana nimarthna bhyasat pasham dehati panditah. Making the Atma, inner organs, mind, intellect, chitta and ego as the lower arani, wood piece used for churning fire, and Parnava as the upper arani. By constant friction of knowledge, a wise man burns up all the fetters. Constant meditation on the self through the negation of all superimpositions like I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am not the reflective mind, chitta, I am not the ego, etc. is called jnana manthana, churning of knowledge. This Upanishad advises that this process of negation should be supplemented by the meditation on Om as the symbol of the ultimate reality of the self. The Dhyana Bindu Upanishad describes that Parnava, consisting of three matra articulated letters A, U and M, along with Ardhamatra unarticulated humming sound called Nada and Bindu, is an eternal reverberating sound. What exists beyond this is the soundless Amatra Brahma, who is the substratum of the entire existence. Sri Gaudapadacharya, in his Mandukya Karika, says that the one who has known Om, which is soundless and of infinite sounds and which is ever peaceful on account of the negation of duality, is the real sage. The Mandukya Upanishad explains that the Parnava, consisting of the three letters A, U, M, and the fourth letter, which is soundless, correspond to the four states of consciousness, viz. Visva, objective consciousness of waking state; Tejasa, subjective consciousness of dream state; Prajna, transcendental consciousness of deep sleep state; and Turiya, superconsciousness or the self. This soundless state of Turiya is the ultimate reality. He who knows Om as soundless and non-dual merges himself in the self. Self-investigation through four states of consciousness. The seer of this Upanishad, who is none other than the Lord Brahma, Parameshthi, now reveals the nature of the self by analyzing the three states of consciousness and then refuting all other superimpositions on the self which arise due to misapprehension or non-apprehension of the reality. During waking and dreaming state, there is a misapprehension of the reality due to the identification of the embodied soul with the false entities like body and mind. During deep sleep, there is non-apprehension of the reality since the soul abides in the causal state and remains unaware of both external and internal. It is only in the fourth state of Turiya that the soul becomes free from the nescience of cause and effect and realizes the true nature of the self. Stanza number 12. स एव माया प्रिमोहितात्मा शरीरम आस्थाय करोति सर्वम स्त्रिय अन्नपानादिविचित्र भोगै स एव जागृत प्रीतृप्तिमेति. He, Jiva alone under the nescience of Maya, identifying with the body, does everything. He alone derives gratification in the waking state from the various objects of enjoyment like women, food, drink, etc. During the waking state, there is misapprehension of the reality because of the false identification of the jiva with the gross body. Identifying with this body, the jiva comes under the delusion of the empirical reality of the sense objects. He exerts himself to possess those sense objects which gives pleasure and avoids those objects which gives him pain. The Maha Upanishad says, though intellectual, though highly qualified, and very learned, though born in a superior clan and a person of great repute, one is bound by the cravings of the body, for example, Dhaneshna, Dareshna, and Putreshna. Like as a lion with a chain, attachment and clinging to sense objects brings about a downfall from the spiritual consciousness, because of which the jiva gets drowned in the material consciousness. Under the impulsive force of this material consciousness, the jiva perceives the world to be real. This misapprehension of the reality continues as long as attachment with the gross body persists. The misapprehension has to be eliminated through self investigation and meditation. The material and objective universe is the result of the involution of consciousness. The purpose of meditation is to reverse this process of involution by withdrawing into the higher state of consciousness. The embodied soul then becomes aware of the vast and subtle planes of consciousness. Meditation awakens higher faculties of the mind and intellect, which liberates the soul from the confinement of material consciousness. Stanza number 13. स्वप्ने स जीवः सुख दुख भोगता सौ माया कल्पित जीवलोके सुषुप्ति काले सकले विलीने तमसो भूति सुख रूप मेति. The same jiva experiences pleasure and pain in dream by projecting an imaginary world of beings through his power of Maya. During the deep sleep state, when everything is dissolved in their causal state, he, being identified with the nescience of primal cause, exists in his quiescent form. During the dream state, the soul, confined in the subtle body, perceives subjective reality in an internal world. In this state of perception, time and space lose their true significance. There is no space, yet the dreaming person travels far and wide through various vehicles in no time. There are no concrete forms, yet the dreaming person experiences pain or pleasure by imagining kalpana various forms within because of past impressions. Thus, reality perceived in the external waking state and internal dreaming state worlds is illusory. In deep sleep, the soul, confined in the causal body, gets absorbed in the primal cause. This primal cause is described here as tamas, because the soul remains in a dormant state, being unaware of its true nature. Though the embodied soul experiences bliss, yet this state is illusory because of non apprehension of the reality. This differentiates the Susupti state from Samadhi, wherein the soul experiences absolute bliss because of enlightenment, superconscious realization of the self in Samadhi obliterates all latent impressions, while in the state of Susupti, these impressions lie in a latent state and the soul comes back to the waking or the dreaming state to experience the results of its past accumulated actions. Stanza number 14. पुनश्च जन्म अंतरकर्म योगात् स एव जीव सौपिति प्रबुद्ध पुरतरे क्रीडति यश्च जीव सततस्तु जातं सकलं विचित्रम् आधारम आनंद खंडबोधम यस्मिल्लयम् याति पुरत्रियम् च. Again, due to the result of actions performed in the previous births, that very same jiva enters into dream state or waking state. That jiva who sports in the three bodies, gross, subtle, and causal, and from whom has emerged this entire manifold creation. He is the substratum, indivisible bliss awareness, and in him alone all the three bodies get dissolved. Having refuted the reality perceived in the three states, this Upanishad now avers that the embodied soul, who is the witness of all the three states, is the sole cause of the entire existence. It is the soul who experiences peace in deep sleep because of the absence of all impressions and says, I had sound sleep. The Upanishad later in verse 16 will affirm that the soul is identical with the self-luminous Atma. The soul alone is the substratum of all the three states. It is the soul who cognizes various objects by imagining them in himself through power of his own Maya. The Upanishads have refuted thus the proposition of absolute nihilism, who maintain that all categories of experiences which knower, known, and knowledge are mere illusion. If the experiences of knower, known, and knowledge are treated as mere illusion, being devoid of reality, who is the real cognizer of these triple modes. The theory of the non-existence of Atma is unacceptable, for it is the Atma who is the substratum of all knowledge, memory, and relative perceptions like Jiva, Ishvara, and the world. The conclusion of Vedanta is that the knowledge and memory are not without any support, independent of any basis. As Buddhistic nihilists maintain, the next verse further confirms this faith in the existence of Atma, from which emerge all manifold entities like prana, mind, space, etc. Stanza 15. एतस्मज्जायते प्राणो मनः सर्व इंद्रियाणि च खं वायुज्योतिरापः पृथ्वी विश्वस्य धारिणी. From him emerges prana, life principle, the mind, all the senses of cognition and perception, the space, ether, the air, the light, radiation or fire, water, liquid state, the earth, solid state, which supports all. The self was described as unconditioned, formless, and beyond cause and effect in the previous few verses. This verse, which is also found in the Mundaka Upanishad, describes the self through positive epithets. It presents the self in the conditioned state as a cause of the subtle state of Hiranyagarbha. This Hiranyagarbha is the cause of the universe in the gross form called Virat. Thus, both views are essential to arrive at the integral knowledge of the self. For perfect knowledge and absolute liberation, we must see the being unconditioned Brahma and all its becoming conditioned Brahma in absolute identity with the indwelling self through an integral vision. We cannot arrive at the integral knowledge of the self by either of the two exclusive views. Realization of the non-dual self. Ignorant people are convinced that happiness and sorrow which they experience in this world and heaven are real. Therefore, they consider worldly duties and obligations inculcated by the Vedas as real. They do not perceive non-duality nor think it exists. They hanker not for non-dual truth but for enjoyments. Their concept of God and liberation is related to the lower and qualified Brahma, Apra Brahma, but Ati Asrami, who has renounced all desires of enjoyment in this world and heaven, devote himself to the higher and absolute Brahma, which grants Kaivalya Mukti. The seer of this Upanishad, Parmeshthi, having initiated the disciple, says Ashvalayana into Ati Asrama Sannyasa now imparts Mahavakya. A disciple who wishes to destroy the illusion of the dualistic universe should listen Sarvanam this Mahavakya that reveals the integral knowledge of the self. Stanza 16. Yat pram brahm srav atma visvasya yatnam mahat Suksham ati suksham taram nityam tavamev tat. That which is the supreme Brahma, inner self of all, the great sport of the universe, subtler than the subtle, and eternal, that alone thou alone art that. Tat tvameva tat, that alone thou not, that alone thou alone art that is the supreme utterance, Mahavakya of the seer of this Upanishad. Kaivalya is attained only by realizing the identity of inner self and Brahma. Brahma is subtler than the subtle because it pervades even the unmanifested ether or space. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad further says, he who inhabits the ether but is within it, whom the ether does not know, whose body is the ether, and who controls the ether from within, is the internal ruler, your own immortal self. This Upanishad demonstrates that the entire dualistic universe, comprising of space, air, fire, water, earth, light, sun, moon, Brahma, who is the great sport of the universe, is identical with the immortal self of the individual. Now the teacher exhorts the disciple to reflect upon the inner meaning of the Mahavakya through discrimination in order to assimilate mananam, feeling of identity of the inner self and Brahma. Stanza number 17. Jagrit Swapan Susupti Adi Parpancham Yat Prakashati Tad Brahma Hamiti Gyatva Sravbandhai Pramuchyate. That which illumines the relative phenomena in waking, dreaming, deep sleep state, etc., that Brahma I am. Knowing thus one is liberated from all fetters. Brahma illumines the relative phenomena and Brahma illumines the relative phenomena of object and subject in all the three states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Brahma is ever pure and auspicious because it is not tainted by the anything during the triple states. It is the intellect which differentiates between subject and object, considers itself as enjoyer or doer, and experiences pleasure or pain. Because of this fault in the intellect, a person perceives the universe of multitudes and finds no way to escape from the worldly sorrow. When the objective and subjective perceptions are eliminated through meditation on Brahma, the intellect intuitively realizes that the real I is the imperishable Brahma and not the doer or enjoyer. Knowing thus one is released from all bondages. The disciple, being intent on the intuitive realization of the self now, takes to recourse of deep meditation. Nidhi Dhyasanam. The next few verses describe the personal experiences of the disciple in the depth of meditation. Stanza 18. Trisu dhamsu yad bhogyam bhokta bhogasch yad bhavet tebhyo vilakshanah sakshi chinmatro aham sadashiv. That which appears as the enjoyable, enjoyer, and enjoyment in the three states, dhamsu, different, vilakshanaha, from all that am I, the witness, the ever auspicious and pure consciousness. The above verse describes the experience of disciple in meditation on attributeless Brahma through elimination of objective universe. In this method, the soul withdraws itself from all the objective experiences through intuitive discernment. In absence of objective impressions, the mind is rendered pure and gets illuminated through the light of self-effulgent Atma. This type of meditation is always associated with the luminous discriminative ideas like I am the witness, etc. Brahma is the eternal witness of triple modes of relative experiences with enjoyer, enjoyment, and object of enjoyment in all the three states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. It is the intellect which considers itself as enjoyer and feels pleasure or pain. Brahma is ever pure and auspicious because it is not tainted by the sins of the doer. Stanza 19. मय्येव सकलं जातं मयि सर्वं प्रतिष्ठितं मयि सर्वं लयं याति तद ब्रह्माद्वयमस्म्यहम्. Everything emerges from me alone. In me, everything abides in me. Everything merges. I am that non-dual Brahma. The absolute Brahma has no cognition of creation. It is the Brahmic consciousness which perceives all the relative phenomena of the creation. Having identified himself with this all permeating Brahmic consciousness, a Paramhansa feels that the entire creation emerges from him. Having emerged, it abides in him and finally merges back in him. He remains unaffected by the relative phenomena of the creation. The Svetasvatra Upanishad, chapter 4, stanza number 16, also says that by realizing the God who is only one and who encompasses the entire world, a person is released from all fetters. Here, I refers to the impersonal truth of non-dual self and not body, mind, ego complex of the embodied soul. Stanza number 20. अनोर्ण्ययान हमेव तद्वन महानहम विश्वमहम विचित्रम पुरातनो अहम पुरुषो हमीशो हिरण्यो अहम शिवरूपम अस्मि. I am minute than the I am minuter than the minute. Similarly, tadvat I am also the mightiest among all. I am the manifold Vichitram, confounding universe. I am the ancient one. I am the Purusha, the Lord, Isha of all beings. I am the effulgent Hiranyamaya one. I am of the nature of auspiciousness. The above verse describes experiences of disciple in meditation on Isvara, who is the internal ruler, Isha of all beings, being more subtle than the all-pervasive Hiranyagarbha. Isvara pervades and encompasses it. Hiranyagarbha is true from the point of this cycle of creation, but Isvara, who is superior to Hiranyagarbha, is true from the point of view of endless cycles of creation, and hence he is said to be auspicious. He existed even before the manifestation of Hiranyagarbha, and therefore he is the ancient one. Stanza number 21. Apani pado ham chintay shakti पश्यामे चक्षुः स शरणों में कर्ण अहम विजानामि विविक्त रूपो न चास्ति वेता मम चित् सदा अहम. I am without hands and feet, apani pada of incomprehensible. Incomprehensible power. I see without eyes, achaksuhu, hear without ears, akarnaha. I know everything in its essential nature, being bereft of all forms, vivikta rupaha, and there is no knower, vita, for me, or none knows me, who am ever of the nature of consciousness. The Svetas, the Svetasvatara Upanishad, chapter 3, stanza number 9 also says, without hands and feet, it goes fast and grasps, without eyes it sees, without ears it hears, it knows whatever is to be known, yet there is none who knows it. They say he is the foremost, the great infinite being. This Brahmic consciousness knows everything through the principle of prajna, but there is none who knows it. The soul, identifying itself with the Brahmic consciousness, enters into something beyond which is unknown to the mind and intellect. Stanza 22. Vedai ran kair hamev vedo vedant kardved videv chaham ne पुण्य पापे मम नास्ति नाशो ne janam deh indriya buddhisti. I alone ever am that who is to be known with, with you from different Vedas, Vedahi Anekahi. I am the revealer of Vedanta, Vedanta Krit, and I alone Eva am the knower of the Vedas, Veda Vid. There is no merit or sin for me. I am indestructible. I have neither birth nor any notion of body, senses, and intellect. The Vedas reveal the eternal truth. He who knows the truth is the knower of the Vedas. Others who have not known the truth lead dharmika way of life, practicing the prescribed rituals in the Vedas for acquiring merits and destroying sins. However, the seer of the Vedas, by knowing the self completely, shakes off all sins and merits. Having realized his identity with the indestructible self, he transcends all false identification with the body, senses, mind, and intellect. Stanza number 23. Ne bhumirapo ne च वह्निर् अस्ति न चानिलो मे अस्ति न चाम्रं च एवं विदित्वा परम आत्म रूपम गुआशम निष्कलम द्वितीयम समस्त साक्षिम सदस्विहीनिम प्रियाति शुद्धम परमात्म रूपम. There is neither earth, nor water, nor fire, nor air, nor ether. Knowing viditva, thus, evam, The nature of Supreme Self, Paramatma Rupam, who resides in the cavity of the heart, who is partless, niskalam, non-dual, advitiyam, witness of all, samast sakshi, beyond existence and non-existence, sad, asad, vihinam, one attains pariyati, the pure nature of Supreme Self. The disciple, having clearly discriminated the real from the unreal through meditation on the self, realizes that uncreated, uncompounded, and undissolved principle, which is beyond existence and non existence. This created universe, made of five spiritual elements, does not exist in the pure self. Isvara is the supreme lord of the universe, but a Paramhansa, having renounced even the lordly powers of Isvara, remains absorbed in the meditation of non-dual Brahma and attains pure nature of Supreme Self. Having realized the absolute Brahma in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, goes beyond the notions of Isvara and Jiva and feels supreme satisfaction. This ultimate experience, derived in the depth of Samadhi, destroys all illusions of creation and creator. Iti Pratham Khand. Thus ends first part. The aim of this Upanishad is to liberate the soul from all sins and limitations through self-realization. Jiva, embodied soul, being ignorant of the self, identifies himself with body and considers himself powerless. He perceives the world of multiplicity and superimposes goodness and badness on things. He develops love and hatred based on his likes and dislikes. Impelled by desire and aversion, he performs various deeds and accumulates merits and sins. Thus, worldly life of sorrow and joy continues unabated. Burdened with these accumulated merits and sins, a person fails to realize the self. In the second part of the Upanishad, Phalasruti is described to inspire the seekers to give up all the false superimpositions on the self and become free from all the notions of sins. Ye शत्रुद्रिय मधिते सो अग्निपूतो भवति सुरापान सुरापान्तपूतो भवति Kirtya kirtyat puto bhavati tasmat vimukti misrito bhavati. He who studies Adhite, this Satrudriya is purified by fires. Agni Putaha is purified from the sin of drinking wine. Sura Panat is purified from the wrong deeds performed unknowingly. Kirta Akirtya. Through study of this Upanishad, Tasmat he attains refuge in the Avimukta, the one who never deviates from truth consciousness, and it refers to Ishvara. This Upanishad, also known as Brahmastarudriya, is as sacred to the seekers of liberation, Kaivalyam as Sata Rudriya of Taittiriya Samhita of Yajur Veda to the devotees of the Shiva. Mere intellectual knowledge of the Kaivalya Upanishad can remove the heavy burden of karmic bondage because of which most of the aspirants become averse to the knowledge of the self and cling to rituals. The study of this Upanishad destroys all those sins which are committed unknowingly, provided a person takes a resolve not to commit sin anymore. The Vedas do not protect a hypocrite person. Such a person who has taken a right resolve after giving up the wrong way of life attains refuge in the Avimukta Brahma. Brahma in the form of Isvara, possessed of attributes, is called Avimukta. The Jabala Upanishad describes Abhimukta as a place between the eyebrows called Varanasi, where sins committed by the 10 sense organs are destroyed. Stanza 1. Ati asrami sarvada sakardva japet. Anen jnanam pranoti sansar varan vanasanam tasmadevam viditvenam kaivalyam phalmasnut iti. The one who is an ati asrami beyond all stages of life, that is, monk of the highest order, should always, sarvada or once a day, sakrit recite this Brahma Satarudriya. By means of this anena, one attains knowledge that destroys the ocean, arnava of samsara, worldly life. Therefore, tasmat, knowing thus, viditva evam, one attains ashnut, the fruit of Kaivalya, absolute liberation. Verily, one attains liberation. Iti Divitiya Khand. Thus ends the second part. Iti Artharva Veda Kaivalya Upanishad Samapta. Thus ends the Kaivalya Upanishad belonging to the Atharva Veda. So, at this stage, the narration of Kaivalya Upanishad is completed, and along with this, video number 2 on Kaivalya Upanishad is also concluded. Thank you for watching this video. Namaskar, my dear friends. Thank you.